Good morning, afternoon, or evening, everyone. My name is Jeremy Walsh, and I'm the Director of Support, Training, and Documentation for BNI Connect. I'd like to welcome everybody to the webinar today. Today is the fourth webinar in a five-part series, especially designed for new members or people that are logging into BNI Connect for the first time to try to give you guys a grand tour of the system and get you onboarded with things that you can use and utilize and find and make use of here in BNI Connect right away. So far this week, on Monday, we talked about how to fill out your profile, and we had a kind of a basic overview. The second part on Tuesday had to do with the online slips and how to utilize the system to be able to input your referrals and your one-to-ones and your CEUs and all of that. Yesterday, we talked about how to expand your horizons and make use of this global network that we have here called BNI by using the BNI directory and connecting with people and giving people testimonials and participating in group discussions. Today, we're going to take a little bit of a deeper dive into the system, and we're going to look at some of the tools and reports that are available to you on a daily basis that hopefully can help to even increase your referability and your ability to give referrals on a weekly basis. So that's what we're going to talk about today, and tomorrow we're going to close out this series of 5 webinars with inviting and registering visitors. Inviting and registering visitors tomorrow. So without further ado, let's get started with today's content. By the way, some housekeeping things. This is a live webinar, so please, if you have any questions as we're going through the material today, please go ahead and ask those questions. All you need to do is to type those questions into the questions panel, and I will be happy to answer those questions as we're going through. Or if it's completely and totally unrelated, I will answer all questions at the end of the webinar. We're scheduled for about 30 minutes worth of content. I like to make sure that we finish the main portion of this as close to on time as possible so that people can get on with their daily, very busy lives, get to the next client, the next appointment. That being said, if you do have time to spare and you do have more questions, I will personally stay on the line until every single question is answered. This is what I do all day, every day. I answer questions about BNI Connect, and I would be happy to answer any questions that you have. We are also recording this webinar for posterity and also so that you can share it. You can share it with your other chapter members that might need to learn a little bit more about BNI Connect, or anybody in your region, or just to be able to go back and review it later. You'll be able to find those on the support site as well as on our YouTube channel, youtube.com/BNI Connect Global. Again, youtube.com/BNI Connect Global. All right, so let's take a look at some of the tools and reports in BNI Connect. Now, what we see on the screen right now, this is our home screen. This is what you first get to when you log in. And of course, there's some very important pieces of information here. If you were on our webinar Tuesday, we go in depth with a lot of these things. One thing that I'd like to point out when it comes to the tools and reports, and as I said, with the online slips, this is possibly one of the biggest benefits you have as a member. And there's some really, really important information that you can get out of the system once you start utilizing the online slips. And those are right here in these Review My Slips reports. So on Tuesday, one of the benefits that I told you about was that you can see all the details of the slips that you've passed. But that also gives you a much deeper insight as to how and whether or not BNI is working for you. Let me give you a quick example before we move beyond the home screen. When we look at, for example, the referral slips, one of the most important concepts in BNI is the idea of a contact sphere, or as some people like to call it, a power team. And these are the people that you're working strongly with in BNI. For example, I'm a computer guy, so in my chapter, my contact sphere is going to usually be those other technology people. The let's say the printer guy and the web designer, or the people that do SEO. Those people that are having these same types of conversations. They're not competing, but we're naturally going to pass a lot of business to each other. Well, one thing I can do in analyzing my membership is to take a look at, am I participating in my contact sphere? Am I giving referrals to the people that I need to be giving referrals to in order so that Giver's Gain can work, so that they can start giving referrals back to me? I can do this by looking at my referrals given report. I can go back as far back as I want to, and from when I started using this to enter slips, Now, of course, this has the benefit. We can see the details, even going back to like 2012 when I first started using this. But more importantly, one thing that we can do is I can sort this list by clicking on any of these highlighted fields. But I'm going to click on the To button. And this will help me to see, am I participating in my contact sphere? Or even who am I giving the most referrals to in my group? And maybe I need to make sure I'm working more closely with them as well. Now, looking at this, a couple of the people in my contact sphere. So by the way, we're looking at my real data. So this is real results here. One thing that I want to look for is to make sure that I'm, passing referrals to, let's say, the web designer and the printer guy. And Robin Lussier, she is the web designer in my chapter. And what I can see here is that I can also verify, yes, I am participating in my contact sphere. I'm participating in the givers part of Giver's Gain. And let's see, the other one is Joe Sylvia. So let me go to Joe Sylvia. It looks like I pass a lot of referrals to Ken Neff as well. Ken Neff, by the way, is the cell phone guy in my chapter. So again, this is that technology sphere in action. And Joe Sylvia, here he is. Here's the copier guy. So all of these are ways that you can see, well, am I giving referrals to the right people? Am I participating? What do I need to improve? And the same is true on the other side of that. Now that we've looked at what we've given, are you receiving referrals from that contact sphere? And there's a couple of ways that you can do that. You can look through your received referrals report to see what referrals you're receiving and who you're receiving them from, or even more importantly, you can look at your thank you for closed business slips, because obviously if you're closing those referrals and you're turning in your thank you for closed business for those people that are giving you referrals, those are the people that are generating the most revenue for your business. So if I look at my thank you for closed business slips, and once again, even though it's giving me 6 months by default, I can go back in time to when I first started using the system. And once again, I can either sort by amount to see who's giving me the biggest referrals, or I can sort by to and take a look. And what I would want to look for here is, let's take a look and look for example, Robin Lussier. Is Robin in here? And here we have, now, unfortunately, I haven't received a lot here. I have received about $125 worth of thank you for closed business that I've been able to thank her for. Looking at Joe Sylvia, and unfortunately I haven't received a lot back from him. So this is telling me that I probably have some work to do with my contact sphere and find out why is it that they're unable to refer me, or why is it that I'm not receiving as part of the contact sphere as well. But the other nice thing is that I can look at this and I can see who I am receiving the business from. One of the surprising things was when I looked at this, I looked at Angela Moon. Now, Angela Moon is just she is the mortgage broker in our group, and we're not in the same contact spheres. However, when I looked at this, I'm like, wow, look at all of the money that I have thanked her for. A couple of years ago, this is going back probably about 5 years, she gave me 2 referrals that continue to generate revenue to my business. About 24,000, 25,000, 10,000, 35,000. These are the same clients that are contributing revenue to my business every single quarter for the past 5 years. It makes it really important to appreciate the relationships that are working in your chapter as well. So again, these are some really powerful tools here in BNI Connect. Once you start utilizing them, make sure that you're inputting your slips online, because if you're not inputting your slips online, then you won't be able to get this data back out. Now, to look at some of the other tools in the system, we are going to have to go beyond the home screen here. We're going to have to go to that scary place beyond the home screen. Now, we do that by utilizing the menu options up here at the top. We have Network, Operations, Reports, Tools, and Admin. And the way that BNI Connect works is that depending on what your role is in BNI, so whether you're a president or a vice president, whether you're on the membership committee or an education coordinator, or if you just are currently just a member right now, depending on your level of access, you'll see different things in BNI Connect. So for example, under the reports menu, I may see certain reports because I'm the president, and I may not see those reports if I'm not the president. Generally speaking, however, we're going to spend most of our time in one of three places, either network, operations, or reports. Network is the stuff that we covered in yesterday's webinar. We talked about the networking components, the connections, and the groups and things like that. Operations and reports are where we're going to spend the rest of our time. Now, operations is when you want to do stuff. It's really the day-to-day management or the day-to-day operations of running a chapter. Reports, on the other hand, is when you want to get data back out. So input, creating things, that's going to be operations. If I'm just looking to get statistics back out and reports, then I'm going to go to reports. Let's take a look what's available under the operations menu. So if I go to operations, chapter, a lot of things under the operations menu are really only available to leadership teams. But there's a couple of things that I definitely want to show you today, and there's a couple of things that I'll be showing you tomorrow with the visitors as well. There is a goals program. If your chapter is participating in the goals program, this is something that you may want to utilize to follow along and view your chapter goals and see where your leadership team is taking you. The most important thing, though, that you'll go here for is this create email function. And this has been a thing that a lot of people question. Well, I need to get an email out to my chapter. That's something you can do by going to operations and go to create email and email my chapter. Now, before BNI Connect, the way that I would be able to get an email out to my chapter is I'd go to Microsoft Outlook. I would go to my sent items, or I'd go to the last group message that was received, and I'd hit reply all. But almost always it went to the wrong people because there were people that had left the chapter since that message went out, and there were new people that joined who weren't included in that list. So what this does, when we click on email my chapter, this will give us the most current distribution list for the chapter. So you can't email directly from here, but what you can do is you copy it. So you can highlight that or click and hit Control A on the keyboard. That's another way to do it. Right click and choose copy or hit Control C on the keyboard. Now you go to Outlook and start up a message, or you can use Gmail or whatever program you happen to use for mail. I do highly recommend that you drop everybody's name here into the BCC line. That'll keep all the addresses private, and that way if it gets forwarded or something like that, the email addresses won't be flying around there on the internet. It also reduces the kind of like reply all, and you end up getting a billion messages, which is what most people hate about group messages. Give it a subject line, and you can go ahead and click send. By the way, just a little technical tip, you don't need to have anybody in the to line. If you'd like to put yourself in the to line or something, you can, but that can be empty. They can all exist in the BCC. All right, and the other tool that you might find helpful in here, and I'm going to go over this again tomorrow, but there is a visitor invitation that you can send through BNI Connect, and the next option down here is email visitor invitation. And this is a pretty cool little tool because it allows you to send out a custom invite that automatically includes a whole bunch of stuff in the email that you would otherwise have to make up on your own. Let me show you how this works. All you do is, it's really just like Mad Libs. Fill in the blanks. Fill in the person's, the potential visitor's name, company, and email address. So let's say John Smith from Smith Co. and his email. Now, what I'm going to do here, and you're welcome to try this yourself, I'm going to put in my own email address because I want to send the copy to me so I can see what it looks like and show you guys what it looks like. So I'm going to put in my email address. Now the next thing is a personal message. The way that this works is it's going to take your personal message and put it into this custom email as the first paragraph. So you really want to introduce yourself in this, hopefully, and here's my little tip of the day. I usually use this as a second invitation. So if I meet somebody, I'm out there, I'm networking, I'm at let's say a chamber business after hours or a First Friday coffee or whatever it might be, and I say, hey, would you like to come and visit my BNI meeting? Yes, I'd love to come to visit your BNI meeting. Can you send me some more information? Boom, that's when I now use this visitor invitation to send that information. So I'll say, hey, it was great meeting you at the networking event last night. I would love to introduce you to my referral team. Let me fix that spelling error there. Now when I click send, it's going to take that, it's going to wrap it up, put a nice bow on it, and immediately email it out to that address. And I should get that in about 3, 2, 1, and here it is. This is what the invitation looks like. It just lets them know, hey, this is a nice branded BNI image. It puts in my first paragraph. I would love to introduce you to my referral team. Lets them know that they're invited to visit my chapter, the BNI Wakefield chapter, and we meet at the Elks Club on Thursday at 7 a.m. It then briefly describes BNI. You don't have to think about what to say to explain what BNI is. We did that hard part for you, so that's all written out for you already. Lets them know that they're looking for somebody in that profession and to please RSVP with you. And if they hit reply, it will go back to your email address, so you can utilize this to send out invitations to people that you might have met out at networking events. All right, a lot of the other functions here I'm either going to cover tomorrow, for example, the registering visitors, and on the leadership team. A lot of the other functions are leadership team driven, managing visitors and entering chapter POMS reports and assigning speakers and things like that. If you're more interested in those, you can join us next week for the leadership team tools and reports. But let me flip now over to some of the other reports in the system, and we're going to find those under reports. So if I go to reports, and I'm going to go to look at the chapter level reports. Now for the most part, by default, just about everybody has access to just about every report in the system. Now there's about 15 or 16 reports here for at the chapter level. I am not going to go through all of them today. However, I do highly recommend that you jump in and just start clicking on them. You really can't break anything when it comes to reports. So click on them, find out more about them. By the way, I'm not sure if I showed you this tool yet or not. You'll notice that there's a little question mark in front of just about everything here in BNI Connect. Now what that is a help file to show you what that function is all about. So for example, let's take a look at the summary POMS report here and the question mark in front of it. If I click that little question mark, that will take me to the article on the support site about that function. It'll explain, well, how did you get there? How do you run the report? What do the parameters mean? It explains all of the things that are on the screen. It explains what that report is all about and how to use it. This is also helpful if you happen to be an education coordinator. If you'd like to teach your chapter about this, you can always utilize this or print it out and be able to show them more about that function or teach it to them. All right, let's take a look at some of the reports here in the system. Now, again, I'm not going to go through all of them. I'm going to highlight probably about 5 or 6 of my favorite reports here. So the second report down, the chapter roster report. This one's a pretty straightforward report, and it is pretty much exactly what it sounds like. It is the chapter roster. And when I click on it, this will give me my roster. So down below, it will have all of the members of the chapter, what their category is, what their company is, what their phone number is, and also their participation in the last 90 days. Let you know how they're doing in the chapter. But up at top, one of the things that I do also find that this to be really important is if you two things. Number one, if you are on the leadership team or you're on a supporting role, let's say the vice president or the visitor host or the growth coordinator, and you go to do certain functions in BNI Connect, and you say, hey, you know what, I've been designated the chapter webmaster, but I don't seem to be able to edit the web page. That's because you may not have the assignment in BNI Connect. This is one way you can check if you have the assignment. If you're listed here, if your name is next to whatever position it is, then you have been assigned that role in BNI Connect, and you will have that extra functionality. If your name's not on this list, then you just need to talk to your director consultant or your regional office, and they should be able to help you out with that. The other thing that I find this useful for is that you may not know who is serving in certain positions. So let's say, and hopefully it'll never happen, but you have some type of a conflict with another member in the chapter. The person to talk to with that would be somebody on the membership committee. So you can always go here and take a look and see who is on the membership committee, and there's their phone number. You can even give them a call right from getting the number from this report. And if you do need to talk to somebody a little bit higher up, you can talk to your director consultant, and they're listed here with their phone number. Your director consultant is an invaluable resource. They would be happy to help you at any time. All right, let's take a look at some of these other reports. The membership dues report. This is very similar to the roster, except it will show you everybody's renewal date. And for example, this is the way that you would find out when your next renewal date is as well. So if you'd like to find out, I can see I just renewed, so I'm not due again until March 1st, 2018, but you can see when you are up for renewal by checking out the membership dues report. I know it seems like I'm going through all of these in order. I am going to start skipping them soon. But this next one is one of my absolute favorite reports in the system. It's going to be such a simple report. You're going to say, how come this one's so important? But this one's called the Meeting Notes Report. And if I click Go, the purpose of this report is to help you to be a better referral giver. That's a better referral giver. You do this by printing this report out before a meeting. And if I print this, it gives me the person's name, their company name, and a place to write down notes. Or in other words, when they're giving their weekly presentation. I'm in a chapter that has almost 50 members in it. That's a lot of people asking for a lot of things every single week. There is just no way that I can recall all of that information. And one of the things about referrals is that it's important to remember what they say, but referrals don't happen right away. It may trigger a memory there in the meeting, but somebody might have been asking to meet John Smith from Smith Insurance. I may not run into John Smith for a couple of days or a couple of weeks or even a couple of months. By writing this down, it helps me to transfer it from my short-term memory to my long-term memory. And if I save these, I can always go back to them and refresh my memory later. So you can print this out. It'll give you space to take notes while people are talking during the meeting. Now, you can also utilize this in an electronic format. A lot of people do that as well. So just about every report in BNI Connect has a couple of options. Export without headers, export, and print. Now, export and export without headers will give you two different results. I'm going to click on both of them here. Export is going to pretty much export everything that you see on the screen here. So it's going to include all of this stuff at the top. When did you run the report? What were the parameters that you were running the report? What dates and everything like that? That's useful if you are just saving the information. So you're going to save that report, you're going to put it on your hard drive, and you need to be able to recall when you actually ran that report and what parameters you used. So this is the export. You can see it has all this stuff at the top, just like the regular report does. However, that makes this report kind of hard to sort and do other things with, because all these fields are merged in different sizes. So I find it easier most of the time to use the without headers version. So if I click Enable Editing, this allows me to do all sorts of things. I can sort this. I can say, you know what, I need more space for taking notes, so I am going to make that space bigger. And let's see, I'm going to expand these ones out. I'm going to make the notes field bigger. I don't need the first line so big. Now I can even apply a color scheme to it. I can use for example, the Format as Table button up here. Pick a color scheme, let's say green for money. And now I have a much prettier form that I can custom print. I can make it fit to one page or whatever I need to do electronically with this list. The hard part of having the names and company names and everything was done for me. I find this one extremely useful. Now, what we've done in our chapter is we actually have one person that sends out a copy of this every week, and I get them all as emails on a weekly basis from my chapter. So I can then save them in my email, and I now have a couple of years worth of these, what people have asked for Let me see if I can find one here for you. So here's one that came in via email. So we had this one person in our chapter that took notes and send them out every week. And now I can look back through my email to see who it was that people were asking for. So again, a month from now, 2 months from now, 3 months from now, 5 months from now, I can go back and see who asked for who. All right, the Summary Palms report. This is the statistical bread and butter of the chapter. By default, it is going to give us a 6-month period, but once again, I can, let's say that I want to look at all the statistics from January 1st through December 31st. I want to see all of 2015's statistics. I can click go, and I can take a look at the statistics for the entire year. Now, by default, it's only going to show you the current members of the chapter, but it will show the totals from all contributions. I can choose to show the dropped member names if I'd like to by putting a check in this box, and that will include people that were participating in the chapter during that time period of last year, but they are no longer a member of the chapter. All right, I'm going to skip down a couple. We're getting close to the bottom of the hour. Let me show you one more report here, and that is the classifications not in chapter report. And this is, again, it's going to look like a pretty simple report. If I click go on here, what this is going to do is it's going to show me all of the open categories, all of the open seats in my chapter. What it's going to do in addition to that, though, is it's going to tell me how many other chapters have this position filled. And this tells me a very important thing. When we are recruiting for those positions, for example, and I can confirm right now, we just lost our mortgage person. We don't have a business attorney. We don't have anybody that does printing services. So I can look at these, and then I can also see that there are 7 other chapters, for example, in our region out of about 20 chapters that has a business attorney. That means that we're not competing against all of these chapters to get a business attorney, and it also means that business attorneys are pretty popular. So when I'm talking to a business attorney, I can say, yeah, there's a bunch of business attorneys in BNI. It's probably going to be successful for you. In addition to that, I do love this because it does have every single profession that exists in BNI or has ever existed in BNI. There's about 500 or so listings here. So if you're unsure, you're looking for an idea of who to invite to the chapter, just take a look through this list. There are just so many different possibilities. Flowers and photo processing and drafting and prosthetics and vacation rentals and underwater basket weaving and writing and assisted living. I mean, so much stuff in here. Hot air balloon rides. All these people were BNI members at one point or are current BNI members somewhere in the world. All right, now the final thing I want to show you is I'm going to go back to the home screen, and once you start playing with these reports, once you start discovering the things that you love about BNI Connect, rather than have to dig through the menus to find them, you can have your own custom shortcut menu. And we do that right here on the home screen. Remember how we have the My BNI Business, this is the home page. We have the My Network, which is going to be all those, really that social media stuff and the documents and the events and the messages and things like that. Below that, you should see Chapter. And what this is all of the functionality available to the chapter level or the member level of BNI Connect that you have access to can be accessed through this menu. And this is a customized menu. If I click Configure, anything that's on the left-hand side is going to be in my custom menu. Everything on the right-hand side is available to me, but I don't have it in my custom menu. Now, things in my menu, I can move around. I can change the order. I can click the little red X to remove them. And then I can go in and choose other things that I'd like to put in the list, or you can put everything in the list if you'd like to. And then I can move those orders around. And when I go in and I click Submit, and I close out of this, now my list is custom again. So let's say I'm on the My BNI Business and I want to email a visitor or something like that, I can just go to chapter and use the classifications not in chapter instead of having to go to reports, chapter, classifications not in chapter. So it saves a couple of clicks, puts your favorite functions right here, just a couple of clicks away. All right, so with that, we are at the bottom of the hour, and what I'd like to do is to thank everybody for your time today. Thank you guys for being here and spending some quality BNI Connect time. I'd also like to open this up for questions. If you have any questions whatsoever about BNI Connect, I would love to answer those questions, whether it's about stuff that we covered today or anything that we might have covered in previous webinars or something we might be covering in a future webinar that you might not be able to be around for. A couple of reminders, this is being recorded. So you can always find these in a couple of different places. You can find them on the support site. To get to the support site, click on this question mark here in the upper right-hand corner. That will take you to the full support site. Here you'll find our upcoming webinars listed. Right here you'll see recorded webinar series. I've already posted the last couple under February 2016. We have the power of Connect, completing your profile, giving and tracking referrals, connecting with other members from yesterday, and very soon I will have today's webinar up there as well, possibly even by the end of the day. You'll also find them on our YouTube channel, youtube.com/BNI Connect Global. We have a ton of stuff up here. Every webinar we've ever done is listed up here. We also have our education series. So we have short 3 to 5 minute videos on specific functions within BNI Connect. Great for education moments at your chapter meeting. Even have some special presentations by Dr. Meisner, announcements, and other things. So please do check out our YouTube channel as well. And finally, I would love it if you gave us a like on Facebook, facebook.com/BNI Connect Global. We do webinar reminders and announcements and tips and tricks and all sorts of things up here on our Facebook as well. All right, do we have any questions at all? Any questions whatsoever? I'd love to answer those questions. All right, it seems like you guys are a quiet group today. So what I'll do is I'll just say thank you for your time. I look forward to seeing you on a future webinar. A good referral for me is to please invite people to tomorrow's webinar. Tomorrow's webinar is inviting and registering visitors. It's still at 3:00 p.m. Eastern Time, 12 noon Pacific time, and then also I think it's 8 p.m. GMT or UK time. Excellent. So thank you again, and I look forward to seeing you hopefully tomorrow. Happy connecting, everyone.